why is everyone buying a Fujifilm camera in 2023? This Fujifilm X-Pro2 has made me more present with my family and has helped me prioritize capturing moments. And it's safe to say that Fujifilm cameras have had a boom in popularity starting back in 2020, probably even a little bit before that, and it gains more hype each passing year. But why? Well, number one, the price of film is going up. There's a lot of people that got back into film photography and wanted to, have that experience of putting the roll in and, doing the shutter, have the tactile feedback, myself included. I have a couple film cameras and I was shooting a ton of film, but the price of film going up and film stocks being discontinued and, them, of course, price gouging, third-party resellers price gouging for these rolls of film is kind of crazy. And I think that's why a lot of people want to get that film look from Fuji. They switched to a Fujifilm camera, they have film simulations. It's kind of like the next best thing. Also, we have to talk about the pandemic effect. This happened to a lot of products, from consumer electronics and on, but people had way more time on their hands. They were laid off or, just on hiatus from work and pursuing new goals. And I think that allowed people to tap into new hobbies, one of them being photography. And yeah, I think that's another reason that contributed to the Fuji hype train. Of course, another thing that happened as a result of the Panda was chip shortages. Less supply coupled with, people being laid off, having more time on their hands, pursuing new hobbies, and getting back into photography. Also with the increased prices of film, not wanting to have to pay for film, Fujifilm hype is just rising. It's just building with each theory. It's just going up and up and up. Also, older millennial parents, myself included. My daughter was born in 2020, so millennials are prioritizing family more now, having kids later in life and wanting to capture those moments. It just makes sense, you know what I mean? It's kind of like the perfect storm for all these things that happen for the Fuji film craze and hype to build. People are getting married, there's post-pandemic travel, everyone's going and trying to live life now. Like they were on lockdown for so long, now we're, taking trips, we're spending more time with family. It makes sense. Also, we can't deny the fact that there is tons of influencer hype around the X100V. Like everyone, that was like the TikTok camera. Like it's crazy. And also I feel like there's a lot of influencer hype even with film photography, and it kind of like trickled down to digital and Fuji. But the X100V blew the doors off of all the Fujifilm hype. Like that is the leading reason why people are probably buying Fujifilm cameras now, because once the X100Vs are gone or the people are price gouging for them, let me find the next best thing, you know what I mean? People came to the XS series or anything that looked like retro, the X Pro series, the XE4 series, people wanted that retro look and they were looking for the next best thing to the X100V because that was priced out or overhyped, or you know what I mean? So yeah, that's another huge reason. Now we also have to talk about the look, right? These cameras provide a certain look, a filmic look. Each photo feels like a memory. Here are some of my most recent captures from family adventures and camping trips. And I have a couple other videos highlighting the recipes that I'm using, but I will list a new one here today that I'm using, and you can name it whatever you want, but I'm gonna call it flashback, right? Because like I said, every photo that I take feels like a memory. It is a good all-around recipe that doesn't have a crazy stylized look. It preserves skin tones and it works in most lighting conditions. And these are the settings for flashback. This is Provia standard, and then from there you're gonna go over to grain effect weak, DR 200, white balance is auto with a red 6 and B -8 color shift. Then we have highlight tone -1, shadow tone 0, color is +3, sharpness is -1, and noise reduction is -4. Now I am still tweaking it a bit to get it as close to like a no edit version. Like I want it to be straight out of camera, no edits needed. But sometimes I do want a little more, warmth or a little contrast here. So I do tweak it a little bit in post, and contrary to popular belief, you can actually edit JPEGs a little. But this recipe does provide a good base, so feel free to download it and install it on your camera. These settings are for the X-Pro2, so you'll probably have, if you have a newer camera, you'll have like more blue chrome options, more grain options, but tweak it to your liking. But when it comes to the Fujifilm allure and the hype behind Fujifilm, I think that's one thing that's kind of helped its virality, is the fact that we all have a sense of community. We're all sharing these different recipes, and we're all like, conversing about photography in a different way that hasn't been there up until now. Of course, there's been presets and different filters you can put on your photos, in camera or even in post, but the fact that it's a recipe, even the word recipe just sounds like, you're cooking, like you're creating and you're sharing recipes. Recipes are something that are typically pretty coveted. Like, recipes are passed down through generations. So that way, when you get a recipe from someone, it feels like, ooh, like this is, you know, it feels different. And like I said, it creates that sense of community, and kind of every time I come across a new recipe, or I see someone's photography and I'm like, man, I want to know what recipe they're using to take that photo. Whereas in the past, you would never think like, what recipe are they using, or you might think, what are their camera settings, but or man, they did a great job in that edit. I would love to see their editing workflow. But the fact that it's a recipe makes it feel like everyone can achieve that look, and you know, you can get those settings baked in, which is always great. The process of shooting on Fuji has kind of reinvigorated me and brought me back into just taking everyday photos. I also did decide to pick up the 18 f1.4 for my trip to Mexico City later this year, or in a couple weeks actually. So I'll be taking that on the road with me, and getting some cool photography, some cool landscape stuff, some architecture. I want to get some photos of the pyramids or the Mayan temples. I also want to get, of course, you know, some buildings, some churches, just some cool wide angle stuff. And also, this is pretty shallow enough that if I do want to get crazy, I can probably do like some cool portraits, or I don't know, full body portraits. I don't know, we'll see. I'll take some pretty cool pictures with this. But if you're looking forward to those photos, you want to see what I do create on these trips, definitely subscribe, because I'm going to be taking more photos. And follow me on Instagram at Spruce and Grain, which is where you'll see all of my photos with the Fujifilm X-Pro2 before they hit YouTube. Going back to the post-pandemic travel, people are traveling more. It's just hype, you know what I mean? And I feel like Fujifilm cameras are like the perfect storm. Like, it's a good entry point to where it doesn't feel too intimidating. The settings aren't crazy. It doesn't have tons of pages of settings. It also has a a bit like, you know, factor of customization where I can tweak it and, you know, change the recipes. It feels cool finding new recipes and taking photos with those recipes. I think Fuji is really onto something, and I'm looking forward to what they do in the future. I really want to get like an X-Pro4 eventually. I think I'm gonna stay on the Pro line because I just like the feel of it, the rangefinder style. I like the optical viewfinder when you'd want it. It's just a dope camera. I know a lot of people have been watching my previous Fujifilm X-Pro2 video, and a lot of people are getting into it and getting back into photography, and it's a beautiful thing to see. But yeah, it's been a pleasure as usual, guys. Expect more pictures from me. If you guys want to see the pictures before I make YouTube videos, feel free to follow me at Spruce and Grain on Instagram. That's my photography Instagram channel. But I also have, of course, my other Instagram where it's FilmedByFresh everywhere else. But yeah, it's been a pleasure as usual, guys. Thank you for watching. Feel free to hit that subscribe button on the way out. Until next time, stay fresh. Peace.